does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. And today I'm very excited for checking out Psychological Warfare from DPH Games. This is for 2 to 4 players, ages 13 plus. It'll take about 30 minutes to play. And in Psychological Warfare, this is the 30-minute strategic card game in which you're going to be taking control of a unique asymmetrical character and trying to get them freedom, fun, belonging, power, whatever they need in their life. Because you're going to score X amount of victory points based on what kind of character you have in the game. So if you're a rebel, for instance, you're more focused on freedom than on fun. So you're going to be trying to focus on that particular category. You're going to be going to therapy. You're going to be making offhand petty comments about people with cards. It's a different game that tries to mix humor into a simple strategic card game. But does it succeed? What am I talking about? Let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what's on the inside of Psychological Warfare. So first, we're going to handy dandy rule sheet, 1 page, double-sided, full of some pictures, illustrations, and it's pretty well done. I feel like it just could use maybe a little teeny weeny bit more here or there. Like there's one part where it's like, neurosis, you want to know how neurosis works? Look on your player aid card. And it's like, okay, that's kind of odd, but I understand they were constrained on space because this is a jam-packed rule sheet, but it's pretty well done. So in Psychological Warfare, you are going to be doing psychological warfare. You're going to be trying to avoid collecting baggage. You're going to be trying to level up your freedom, your fun, your belonging, your power, and just have a good overall life. How this works is, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to take a character card. The Jester, the Lover, the Explorer, the Hero, the Ruler, the Outlaw, the Rebel. And what you need to pay attention to on this card is first your asymmetrical special ability that everyone's going to have. So you do not need to spend mental energy to play a reaction card. So that's a pretty cool special ability. And then also how you are going to score victory points. Because you're going to have this track in front of you. As you can see, you can easily remove that and put it back on. And this track is going to keep track of your freedom, fun, belonging, and power. And throughout the game, you're going to be raising and lowering these stats. Also, as your opponents are going to be doing the same thing to you and to themselves. And at the end of the game, if you're in first place or tied for first place in a particular stat, you're going to be gaining that many victory points. So the Rebel is really going to want to focus on freedom, not so much on fun. So it actually does fit a little bit there thematically. But as you can see, there's a whole bunch of these, all with different asymmetrical abilities. And I feel like they're decently well balanced. Some of them definitely feel like they're more useful than others, but we'll talk more about that in the pros and cons. Each player is also going to get one of these handy dandy little cheat sheet cards, and it's such a simple game that honestly, this is going to be really helpful and tell you exactly what you're going to be doing. You're going to have this big deck of Psychological Warfare cards, and we'll just go over some of these. So this one, you get +1 to yourself if you played this. So that would mean that you're just going to move one of these up +1. Also, you might notice there's a cost in the upper left-hand corner. That's how many mental energy cards you're going to need to spend. And you're going to have mental energy cards. These will be face down cards in front of you that you're not going to actually be using the text on the cards. You're just going to be using them as currency, a la, Race for the Galaxy or something like that. So Hippie Happiness, A Flower, Sunshine, and Granola, and a lot of these actually do have a pretty good sense of humor on them. You're also going to have special cards like this one. Take up to 5 cards from under your Archetype card and put them into your mental energy. That's really good because cards under your Archetype are actually a tiebreaker for the end of the game, but adding mental energy is a big deal, but it's going to cost you 2 to do it. And now we'll start to get some ones with the baggage on them. Psychopharmaceuticals. You may change 2 of your category scores to a 4, which would be really good at some point and really bad at another point. Let's see if we can show you some of the other cards. There's also going to be defense mechanisms, which you'll be able to pull out. And these will just kind of give you a persistent special ability until you go to therapy, which we'll talk a little bit about that later. That one's +2/-1, so you're going to improve something by 2 and minus something by 1. In addition, here we go. There's actually these yellow cards here too, which will score you additional victory points if you're able to achieve a particular goal. So have one of your categories equal to an 8. And that'll give you 1 victory point at the end of the game. And as you can see, they go generally from 1 to 5 on the currency there. So you're going to have these various different cards. When you first start the game, you're going to start off with 5 cards in your hand. You're going to start off with 3 cards in your mental, what the heck is it called? The mental warfare. These are essentially where you're going to be spending your stuff. And on your turn, let's take a look at it, you're going to be able to play up to 2 of your cards. You can play 2 action cards, 2 special cards, or 1 in 1. So Let's see. The first thing we got is a defense mechanism. This is free to play. This doesn't count as one of our actions free to play. So we just put this in front of us, and when playing an action or special card, you may discard an additional mental energy card per baggage icon and play the baggage card on another player. So you'll be able to give people some of your baggage, which I'll tell you about in a second. So let's just say have 8 mental energy cards. Ooh, that's a good one to go after. Let's try and go for this one. A sarcastic remark. Silence is golden, duct tape is silver. So we, to play this card, would need to spend 1 of our mental energy. So that would, boom, just go over to the discard pile right there. And then we're going to modify someone else's track by -1. So let's just pretend this is somebody else's track. We'd go, haha, we're going to move you down 1. Now, you don't discard this card. You're actually going to put this card in front of you because it is going to give you baggage, which we'll talk about in just a second. So you'd place this right next to you to let everyone know that you have 1 baggage. And then if you choose, you could play another card. So let's see. We can't afford to play that card. We can't play that card right now. Paranoia. Take another player's mental energy cards and put them into your mental energy. So that'd be pretty good right now. So we might pay 2. So we might pay these 2 right here. Play this card, play it down in front of us, and we would actually steal someone else's mental energy card. So let's just pretend this is mental energy, which would actually really screw somebody over on the first turn of the game. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is that before you start playing cards, you're able to put any of the cards in your hand into your mental energy pile. That's before you start playing these cards. I just didn't feel like doing it in that particular circumstance, but it is something that I did want to mention. Because I would like to keep hold of both these cards, because this one is a pretty good one, and this one is another good one as well. But now I run into a problem, because we've come to the end of our turn, we've played 2 cards, and you don't have to play 2 cards, you can just play 1, and you're going to draw back up to 5 minus the number of baggage you have. So right now, I have 2 cards, and I have 2 baggage, which means I only get to draw 1 card, which is unfortunate. So let's just say next turn I play this card. Well, look there, now I got 3 baggage, which means I wouldn't get to draw any cards at this point. So you're like, well, what happens? You're at a standstill here. Well, when that happens, you can use an entire turn and you can go to what's called therapy. And this just eats up your entire turn. You're going to place all your baggage, phobias, and defense mechanisms, everything you got. You're going to place them under your card because, as I mentioned, this is a tiebreaker at the end of the game. And then you're going to draw up to your hand size, which at this point would mean we could draw back up to 3 cards. So, moving onward. So what happens if you dip down into this one area? Because right here, because as you can see, it's black down here. This is bad. Well, if that happens, you go into neurosis, which means you're going to have a bad persistent effect until you fix it. So each action and special card played costs +1 mental energy. That's really bad if you're depressive. Histrionic. May not play cards that display more than 2 mental energy. So you're going to be a little bit neutered on which cards you can play. Schizoid. May not play special or reaction cards, because there are reaction cards. I didn't actually show you any of them, but they react to when other people are doing stuff, and they can really help you out. And then obsessive compulsive, draw up 1 less card than normal. So you definitely want to be keeping your cards above the 1. But anywho, you're going to continue to play until the entire deck runs out, at which point you're going to tally up who has the most points, and whoever has the most points will be the winner of Psychological Warfare. And that, in a nutshell, is how the game is played. Alrighty then, Psychological Warfare from DPH Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go over the pros. Let's go over the cons. First, on the con side, game's not going to be for everybody for a couple different reasons. 2 to 4 players, very small player count. Also, this is a very take-that-e kind of game. Generally, on every single turn, or the majority of turns, you're going to be doing something to hurt somebody else. You're going to be lowering down their things, you're going to be messing with their cards, you're going to be doing all sorts of stuff to screw with other people, which is not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Also, component-wise, I don't like the artwork at all. I really hate the artwork. The tokens are way too big and they feel clunky, and it's like, why didn't you just get smaller tokens, which is a slight nuisance, but it's not a deal breaker. Also, the graphic design, especially on the back of the cards, is not the nicest. On the front of the cards, it's not so bad, but the back is just bland. Any other cons I have with it? I wish the rules were just a little teeny bit longer, but that's not a big deal. I mean, the main con I have with this game is that I feel like if you're an established gamer, this definitely is going to be one that you're probably going to want to pass on. It's a very simple, light game, and I also worry about how the humor is not going to go over as well the second, third, fourth time down the line. I know by the 3rd time I played it, I was like, you know, I've already seen that card, I got the laugh out of it, and now the laugh is gone. So, moving on to the pros. Psychological Warfare is a very sound game, and I do enjoy it to a certain degree, especially the first 2 times I played it, where I was laughing at some of the cards. Some of the cards are legitimately humorous, and I like some of the mechanisms in the game, but I just wanted more meat on the bones. It says it's a strategic card game, but for the most part, the decisions you make on your turn are pretty simple. It's like, all right, I might have 2, 3, 4, 5 at most of the time cards in my hand, and most of the time the decisions are pretty simple. All right, I'm going to bump myself up, and I'm going to bump you down. I'm going to go to therapy, or I'm going to play this card. I'm going to play that card. I don't know. The game just, it needed something more for me, at least personally. Now, that being said, the reason why I'm recommending this game is because I think a lot of newer gamers are really going to get a kick out of this. The artwork is decently well done. I've been told by other people who play this. I just don't like the art style, but the artwork is decently well done. The humor does come across in many instances, which is good and rare in a lot of our hobby. And I feel like this is going to be a solid gateway game. I definitely feel like this is the kind of game that might not scare off newer gamers. But overall, am I recommending the game? Not really. I mean, this is 100% a try before you buy. But for me personally, it was just a little bit too light, and I don't know, the theme was weird. I worried about some of the asymmetrical abilities might be slightly imbalanced, not a big deal, but slightly. And overall, it's okay. If someone really wanted to play it, I'd be like, yeah, I'll play it again. But honestly, after about the second or third game, it's probably going to lose all of its luster. So that's Psychological Warfare. It's a very sound game. It's okay, but in our hobby filled with tens of thousands of games, okay, just doesn't really cut it. If you enjoyed this review, please be sure to click on that subscribe button down below in the comments below. Let me know, do you have a lot of baggage? On a personal level, I have a boatload of baggage. I had a very traumatic childhood, and I did a lot of terrible things and made a lot of poor decisions leading up to the point where, I kind of straightened my life out. But I do have baggage, and I just kind of throw it in the trunk and keep moving on forward because that's just the kind of person I am. But do you have baggage? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for your time, YouTube.